Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for our preview and predicted 11 live stream ahead of Chelsea versus Liverpool in the Carabao Cup Final, taking place on Sunday. For once, we're actually not doing the preview quite literally the day before. We're doing it 2 days earlier because we've got other things to do tomorrow. And, you know, there's always football going on Saturday, so it's much more difficult to time streams. You know, like, okay, which game do I collide with? And, like, you know, do people care more about that? You know what I mean? So I thought, why not give it a go on the Friday? And there's actually a lot to get through today. Obviously, team news at Chelsea, tactics at Chelsea, all sorts of things about the final itself, but a fair few other things as well. As you can see, we're using a different background picture today. Usually that's just Lewis's background picture, but the reason I used it today is because it's of Wembley, even though you can't actually tell right now, but it's of Wembley. So I thought, we're playing at Wembley on Sunday, so why not use that one? As you can also see, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by two guests that, of course, are not strangers. You know, we've known these boys for a hot long time now, but unfortunately, we don't get to see them that regularly. But today, they're both back. Ian, as he's just changed into his, what I presume is the Ajax shirt that Ajax are not allowed to wear. Thank you for coming on. Excited for Sunday? I presume you are. I mean, you were telling me you love the Carabao Cup even when we was playing. Can't remember who were playing in the first round, but you was telling me you love it back then. So can't even imagine what you think about the final.
Yeah, well, it's my birthday weekend. It's my birthday Monday, so I absolutely love the tournament. I spent years watching it for my birthday. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a tough one against Liverpool, but I'm confident we can do something, and Chelsea won't ruin another birthday weekend of mine, I'm sure.
Hopefully. I mean, how many times have we done that?
Well, last year was a bit dull because we had that Man United game that finished 0-0, and it was like, oh, now I've got to watch that on my birthday, and that was a bit naff. We lost to Man City on my birthday 4-2 when they started to turn good. That was really naff. Yeah, that was a 12:30 kickoff as well, so that really ruined my day.
Oh, yeah. That would ruin your day, to be fair.
Yeah.
That does sound pretty awful. But yeah, excited for this one. Hopefully it will be better than a 0-0. I mean, I thankfully can't finish in a 0-0. And, you know, we've got Kepa. So bring on those penalty shootouts before I care. But let me not jinx it. Clutch, thank you for coming as well. I'm not sure when Lewis said he'd be back in a minute. So just tell me something when you're back, Lewis, so I know I can talk to you again. Clutch, thank you for being here, as always, mate. Excited for the final?
Yeah, I am. Thank you as always for having me back. But yeah, I'm excited because, I mean, it's another trophy. I want Tuchel to rack up as many trophies as he possibly can because, I mean, that makes sure that his tenure here is harder to get rid of him if results go sour. So, I mean, I do think he's the future of this team. I think another trophy, and it shows the quality of the manager that we have right now. So for me, I'm very excited, and Liverpool's not going to be an easy game. They're one of the harder teams in the world, obviously. A lot of their players are firing right now. I mean, Salah, one of the best goal scorers in the league, if not the best. It's going to be hard, but, you know, I think we can do it. We're seeming, last game gave me a little bit more confidence that we're starting to understand where our strengths lie within the team and how we're going to get the best out of these players. So, and Reece James is back. So I'm very excited about that.
Reece James is back. Let's see, obviously, whether he will be, you know, starting or not. We'll get into more detail of that discussion in a minute, just because I still don't think Lewis is quite here. Let me just say a little something. I won't spend too much time on it, of course. But, yeah, the thoughts go out to people of Ukraine and also people, well, I guess also people in Russia, because a lot of people in Russia do not want to be involved in this. You know, as you can see by the protests in the major cities, which even more so, like, big up for protesting when the regime is as it is. It's not a safe thing to do. So big up everyone, and hopefully, I mean, it's already gone bad, but hopefully it doesn't get even worse, I guess. Yeah, like, my thoughts go out to these people because I can't even imagine what these people must be going through at the very moment. But yeah, cup final on Sunday. It's hard in a way to focus on other things when there's literally war going on. Like, I mean, obviously you guys are from the UK, Clutch is from America, but Austria, the capital of Austria, Vienna, is closer to the border of Ukraine than it is to the other side of Austria. So, like, while it seems so far away, it's not actually that far away. So yeah, like I say, thoughts go out to everybody that is affected by this, because not brilliant. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, cup final on Sunday. It doesn't really get much bigger than this. And Fantasy PJ Tour put it in the chat here. Is it? Oh, wanted to highlight it. It's gone. Highlight that one. Thank you. Is it just me, or are you guys also 10 times more excited for this final than the Club World Cup? I mean, I wouldn't say 10 times more. I think it's more to do rather less so than the trophy itself. I think the trophy itself, the Club World Cup, is more enticing just because we haven't won it. But the opponent obviously makes a big difference. And obviously this time we're playing Liverpool. We're playing, Tuchel against Klopp, against Salah, former player and stuff. So, the Thiago Silva Van Dijk debate. So for those reasons, it's a huge, huge game. And it's a final. And last time, and the only time we've played a final at Wembley under Thomas Tuchel, we lost that. So let's make that right. And let's make sure we win Thomas Tuchel his first trophy at Wembley Stadium, because we need to get that done. We absolutely do need to get that done. Before we get into more detail, though, I do need to do a quick little something. So let me just highlight that. All right, I need to do this. When it plays with me, I will do things. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are actually this month sponsored by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Yes, I'm reading the ad read off, but it's good fun. I'll tell you about it. Trust me, because you will get my real thoughts in a second. They recently launched the Ultimate Men's Hygiene Bundle, the Performance Package 4.0. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code LAUSCFC at manscaped.com. I'm telling you, the Performance Package 4.0 is an absolute game changer. I'm not even lying either. Like, it actually is. What have we got in this Performance Package, I hear you ask? Well, first off, we've got the Lawnmower 4.0. Weird name, but this trimmer is the future of grooming, and dare I say, the greatest ball trim ever. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not lying. They sent me the package. I tried it out, and it's actually fantastic. Their fourth generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It's waterproof, and it also has 400K LED spotlight that you need for a more precise shave. And that's pretty good already, if you ask me. But take your grooming game even further to the next level. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. There's absolutely nothing to be ashamed about if you've got a bit of hair up there that you'd like to get rid of. And the Weed Whacker will do their job brilliantly. But we're still not done yet with that Performance Package. Next up is their Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner. And trust me when I say this, fellas, your balls will actually thank you, because it sounds weird, right? Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver. But I'm telling you, it actually smells brilliant. It really does. And to top things off, Manscaped even threw 2 free gifts in their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped boxes and the Shed travel bag. Personally, big fan of that travel bag. I think it looks quite nice. So bring your comfort and your boxes to another level. It's time to take care of yourself. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code LAUSCFC at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code LAUSCFC at checkout. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. But let's get back into actually doing a bit of a preview here. Let me get the people back on screen. Let me get things off screen. Here we are. Can you please? There you go. Here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, Lewis, you're back. You excited for the Cup Final Sunday?
Yes, man. Looking forward to it. Another Cup Final, just typical for us. We look forward to it, but we're also kind of used to it. Comes with being world champions and winning 4 trophies on the bounce in the case for a year. But here we are, Chelsea v Liverpool. Same vibes as 2005, hopefully. But yeah, big up you guys, and let's get into it.
Let's get into it. And to make things even better, actually, Con's already turned up. I was thinking he was only going to be here around 6 UK time. And look at this. Massive surprise. Big Con has arrived. Con, excited for the final? I know, obviously, like I said earlier, we're doing the preview not the day before for once. And it's 2 days to go, but I'm excited already. I just wish it would come around quicker, if I'm honest.
Yeah, bro. Always love a final. Being a Chelsea fan, we get to experience so many of them. Other London teams can't relate. Yeah, bro, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm a bit of everything, bro. So I'm just ready to talk about said day. Let's go.
So am I, mate. So am I. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, just a quick shout out. Big up Manscaped. Please do use my code. The more of you that do that, the better for me. So please do that. That'd be fantastic if you could do that. But anyway, let's actually get some important business out of the way in terms of who's fit and who's not. The great thing is, other than Chile, everyone's fit. So Reece James. Ben Chilwell is the only player that was not in full training today and the last couple of days. So Reece James has finally returned from his way too long injury break. Not way too long in terms of I'm trying to blame him, but way too long in terms of we've been bloody missing him. But he's back. And I just throw it out straight away. Thomas Tuchel was talking about it, and he was like, well, he's looked so good. He's quite frankly looked brilliant in training in the last 2 days that he's not sure yet whether his crazy side of his head will win and he'll just play him, even though it's a bit crazy after, like I said, 7, 8, 9 weeks or whatever he's been out, to just start straight away after 3-4 days training. But, he's looking so strong and confident in training, according to Tuchel, that there is a good chance, or there is a chance that he actually plays him, unless Tuchel's reasonable side wins and we take it a little bit slower and we take it a little bit more step by step, which in a way would be reasonable as well, but it's a cup final. When, if not in a cup final, do you take small risks with injuries? Like, it's not a massive risk. Like, let's not forget, he's been in individual training, working on his fitness, working to make sure his hamstring is okay for weeks. Then he was supposed to come into full-team training and then caught the flu, unfortunately, which gave him a bit of a fitness setback, which is understandable. But now he's finally back. So he's fully fit. You saw the clips from training, or if you haven't, check Chelsea social media, clips from training. He's looking fresh. He's looking sharp. Obviously, who knows whether he can sustain that for 90 minutes, but it's Reece James, man. He's probably be okay. And I'd rather Reece James for a bit than not at all, in my opinion. So, but yeah, there's also more fantastic news. Obviously, against Lille in midweek, both Mateo, Kovacic and Hakim Ziyech had to come off injured, but both of them are perfectly fine, which is great. It was both only suffered impact injuries. Apparently, Kovacic was his neck, and obviously, as we all saw, and not neck, back, I meant. And Ziyech, as we all saw, was his Achilles. But seemingly, they're all fine. So, for once, other than Chile, of course, we actually have everybody fit and available, which is brilliant news. Ian, I'll start with you. You're nodding your head so lovely. Excited by the fact that we finally seem to have a almost fully fit squad?
Do you know, it's not even the fully fit squad. It's just having Reece James back. That for me makes the absolute world of difference. And I think the main thing for me in terms of how Chelsea have played over the last probably 2 months or so, however long it's been, is we are very slow. And a lot of the width that we provide comes from our wing backs. And of course, you've got people like Hakim Ziyech who do such brilliant work cutting in all the time, but he does need that little bit of a support going down the outside. And Reece James is going to give him that. So, it's absolutely superb that we've got him back. Obviously, we'd love Chilwell as well, but I mean, I'll take 1 out of 2 compared to none of them. So, Reece James being back is just phenomenal.
Oh, it really is phenomenal. Obviously, we don't know how close to his best he will be. Probably not that close, but it's still better. And this is no dig at Aspie, but it's probably still better than Aspie. So, from that point of view, it's certainly a good thing. Lewis, I'll ask you the same question. For once, we have a fit squad. It's weird to almost think about.
Yeah, it's finally good to be back to our best in terms of strength. I know we're still going to be missing Chilwell out till the end of the season. And because we were so lazy in the transfer window, we just got to deal with that. Like I've already said, between that and the amount of fixtures that we have or stand to have if we continue to progress in the Champions League and the FA Cup, I'm expecting not great performances on the pitch overall, because I'm expecting fatigue and the run of the fixtures to get the better of this side at times. That's why you all have games like the Crystal Palace one. I'm confident in our form in the big games though. Like, except for the Man City game, which I think was a problem with the lineup, because if we had better players on in the front three, we could have had a better performance against them. We've done pretty well against the top sides, and we've been able to get decent results. And the one thing about us is, in spite of our awful form, we've only lost 2 out of our last 30 games. So regardless, we are a very hard team to beat, whether we play well or whether we play poorly. So in spite of that, am I confident for a game against Liverpool, who have a much better attack than us and have a much better range of goal scorers across the pitch than us? Yes, because the question is, goals win you games and defense wins you titles and all that. I think that's what the saying is. And we got the best defense in the world. So I'm definitely confident, especially now that we have a full squad back. I don't really think Reece James starts though, because he hasn't got any sharpness. If Tuchel picks him, fair enough. It's Thomas Tuchel. He always seems to make the right decisions. But I personally wouldn't start him in this game. I bring him in against Luton slowly, but I'm still confident for this game regardless.
Yeah, no, I 1,000,000% would have, or even still to an extent, agree with you. Just after what Tuchel said and the way he spoke about Reece James in the press conference really does make me think, well, if he's that fit and that fresh and that confident coming back from injury, who am I to say that he shouldn't play? I guess
That's the thing. Like, if Tuchel picks him, I don't care. Tuchel's made so many decisions where at the start of games I've been like, why the fuck did we pick this lineup? And then end of the game, we've dominated and we've had an amazing performance. And you're like, yep, that's Thomas Tuchel. That's why he's the best manager in the world. So if he picks him, it is what it is.
There you go, Clutch. Let me go to you. We've got a fully fit squad. Obviously, we'll get to that in more detail in terms of lineup, but it also puts us into a bit of a selection headache in a positive way, in a way. But is it a positive selection headache in a sense for you also that, potentially switching things around, or should we just stick to what we've just done, except potentially adding Reece James and potentially Mason Mount? By the way, Mason Mount, ladies and gentlemen, is also fully fit to play. But how do you see that one, Clutch?
I think with Reece James being back, we're probably going to be more likely to keep going with the 3-4-3 because, I know Tuchel likes him as a wing back, even though I think he would be a great right back, which, even though we didn't see it against Lille, I still think our attackers are way better in the 4-3-3 lineup, and that also gets the best out of Mount. So for me, I would like to use Reece James as a right back, but at the same time, I know he just came back, so it's going to be hard to say, hey, we need to go out there and play him, especially this weekend. Obviously we'd want to get him a couple minutes, but from the start, maybe not such a good idea, even though that's probably ideally what I would want. And that also kind of speaks to, does that mean Aspie moves over to the left? Would we put Aspie over on the left for defensive stability instead of Alonso? I still like Malang Sarr back there. I think Malang Sarr can still play that left back position, but obviously Aspie has played left back in the past, so it's not exactly entirely unheard of if you were to do that. But would Tuchel do that, considering, we're just one injury away from being in that position again at right back? So who knows? It's going to be an interesting thing, especially when we start talking about what we would like the lineup to be. I think the back three in cup games, I don't mind, because, defensive stability first and foremost for cup games. But in the Premier League, I still think the 4-3-3 is the way to go.
Fair enough. We'll get into more detail of what we all would prefer in terms of lineup, or in terms of formation, rather. Con, let me get to you. Obviously, I just asked Clutch in terms of players being back fit, but not only are players back fit, we also finally made a change in the last game that not all of us, but a lot of us have been craving for quite literally 10 consecutive games, because Lukaku was finally dropped. And for once, we actually played good. Let's not overdo it. Let's not pretend like we were absolutely incredibly amazing against Liverpool. We were good. I was texting with Ian, was it today? Was it yesterday? I can't remember. It was talking about, we were still not amazing. But to me, it was we went from a 3 out of 10 performance against Palace to a 6 or 7 against Lille. And the one change that happened was taking Lukaku out. So, has for you, Con, Thomas Tuchel was asked that very question. Has Kai Havertz done enough to stay in the side and start again? I almost put that similar question back to you. Has he? And for me, he must start. But what about you?
Yeah, of course. No, he has done more than enough to start the next game. What we saw from him against Lille, or should I say Lille, is more than we've seen from Lukaku for how long now? He's got movement. He was dropping deep. He was running the channels. He was linking up play. He was doing everything. He was winning duels. So he has to start, in my opinion. The team plays better when he's the number 9. When Lukaku's the number 9, it just feels disjointed. I don't know. It's just so. I don't know. It's just not fluid at all. So I want Kai to start. I think 95% of the fan base want Kai to start. Tuchel, please, man. We're starving out here. Start Kai against Liverpool, because we're going to have to play at some sort of high intensity. And Lukaku and intensity don't go together, bro. They don't. This guy sweats in 5 minutes, dripping. You know what I mean? The amount of sweat coming from this guy's forehead in 5 minutes is a joke, bro. So you have to start from the top with the intensity, And if we start Lukaku, we lose that. So it has to be Kai.
No, it really does for me. Obviously some people will say, could it be both? Blah, blah, blah. First of all, I doubt it. Second of all, I don't personally think it should be. Let's look at Liverpool for a second. Obviously, their current form is actually a bit scary, if I'm being totally honest with you. They beat Leeds 6-0. Leeds, especially without Bamford, are bums, quite literally.
Playing Leeds is like playing in the Bundesliga.
Exactly. They did concede against Norwich, to be fair, and you've got to be kind of shit to concede against Norwich. But they still beat them 3-1. Against Inter, they struggled, but in the end, still won 2-0. They beat Burnley, albeit it being close and just a 1-0 win. Beat Leicester, beat Cardiff in the FA Cup, beat Palace, beat Arsenal, beat Brentford. Drew with us. That was the league game before that. Liverpool are pretty good, is the problem. They signed a player, unlike us, in January, and not like recalling Kennedy for then to not use him ever, which I still seems a bit pointless. Like, why not play him against Al Hilal? Like, I still don't understand why, if you recall him, why not play him in that game? Maybe he plays against Luton, but if he doesn't play against Luton either, what the hell was the point in calling him back if he's not going to play against Al Hilal or Luton? But Liverpool are pretty good. They signed obviously Luis Diaz. Good winger, seems to be performing quite well. Has scored one or two goals? I can't remember. But they're good. Their midfielders in form. The defenders are pretty okay. Like, not quite as good as ours, but still pretty good. So does that worry you a lot in terms of, like, if we strip it down and we don't just say, oh, we are great in like cup finals and this and that. We're playing a really good team, aren't we, Ian?
Sorry, that me?
Yes. Go on, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I missed that bit.
Yeah.
They are a top side. They really are a top side. I don't want to. Well, I might as well tease it now because I might as well. I was having a chat yesterday with Joe Cole, and he was we were chatting and saying about the strengths and weaknesses of them. Don't want to go into it too much because I've got a video coming out tomorrow, but they are a top side, and this game we both feel is going to be kind of dominated by the midfield. It's just going to be a case of which midfield wins it, because both teams can defend. We know this. Both forwards have got their strengths and have got their weaknesses as well. But the midfield battle is going to be key, and it just depends on what area of the pitch this is played. I probably would like it. I think to be a little bit of a defensive performance from Chelsea. I think that's where we can really do them damage, is if we go on the counter attack. But there's no way around it. In terms of this Liverpool team, we're going to have to play in different styles to beat them, because they can do various different things. They are known for doing one thing, which is probably counter-attacking and creating some chances and stuff like that and playing quickly. If we can slow the game down as much as possible, we're going to be able to disrupt them. But there's going to be certain times where we've got to go quickly and potentially go on the counter-attack and try and sneak in behind. It's going to be such a difficult game to play against, because again, same thing with us. We're saying if we can't go all out in a cup final, when are you going to go all out? Is this potentially where Liverpool pull something out of the bag and a fair few of their players who are on form at the moment really do start to kick on, and someone who maybe hasn't been on form, whoever it be, pops up, and that could be the difference maker? Liverpool very much have got the potential to do that, as have we. It's going to be one of the best tactical battles, I think. If you're a tactical person or a defensive-minded person, I think this could be such a good watch. For neutral, I don't see it being that end-to-end, but I do see it being just a really good, tough contest. And it's credit to both sides, that is.
Do you really think so? Because obviously our game at Stamford Bridge was very much so end-to-end. So do you think that's going to be drastically different, especially on an even bigger pitch?
Yeah, I don't think the game at Stamford Bridge was meant to be end-to-end. I think it was just a case of they weren't brilliant.
Oh, no,
we
I
also
agree,
weren't brilliant. But
who's to say it won't end up
two
like
injury-prone teams?
Yeah, that was the thing. It's going to be a completely different game, and the Wembley pitch and how big it is going to play a massive part. And I do think that is something that is quite undervalued. I think I've been to Wembley loads of times. I've been lucky enough to play at Wembley as well. It's big. It's fucking big, and it could offer someone like Trent so much space to go and do what he wants to do and carry the ball. But then again, that space that he would then leave behind is even bigger. I think that Liverpool will be quite aware of that as well. I believe, off the top of my head, I can think of about 3 or 4 times they've played at Wembley in the Klopp era, and they haven't necessarily played that well. I remember they played the Community Shield there against Liverpool, and I think they then played it. They must have played it the year after as well, against Arsenal. Didn't actually win either of those 2 games, and also I think they played there in the League Cup final against Man City before as well. Haven't necessarily performed that well on the bigger pitch, but that's something that Klopp's got to think of, because he'll be well aware of his side's strengths and weaknesses going forward. And also defensively as well.
He will. Lewis, I'll ask you the next question. Because there is a bit of a debate to be had in terms of what formation we should go for. And I think I just raised my kind of points for both. Now, 1, in the back 3, we're more stable. in a back three that also allows us to put Rudiger on Salah rather than having either whoever we play left back having to be on Salah. If we play a back three, it's Rudiger on Salah. It's not really so much Alonso against Salah. Alonso is, if he plays wing back, his job is more to do with Trent. Rudiger is more the guy that's going to be busy with Salah. That's the one big advantage. Second big advantage.
Yeah, Rudiger usually likes himself against Salah.
That's what I'm saying. But also the second big advantage is where can we hurt Liverpool the most? Probably down the sides. So making sure we have the sides open with enough players fill them, especially on Trent's side, and we've obviously had this discussion on James' channel just a minute ago. I don't think, do I think Trent is great defensively? No. But do I think he's that as bad as sometimes people make him out to be? Also no. But the way Liverpool use it makes him look bad because they need him so badly for their creation that he just leaves huge gaps in behind and doesn't have Kyle Walker's pace.
That's why we need Havertz. We need someone who's got the movement. So I do agree with you on that. That's going to be how we hurt them because we can be fine and say that we're probably going to be on the back foot for the most. This one is going to be a more defensive-minded performance from us. And that's fine. That's where we usually thrive. Liverpool also like playing with a high line. They are really good at offsides, which is why I wouldn't really play Werner in this sort of game. Even though you say the situation suits him, you also need to be able to finish, and he can't really finish. So I'd rather have Kai Havertz there because you still get the movement out of him and he's better technically. Pulisic is definitely going to start after the game against Lille, and it's a good chance for him to build some momentum on as well. So I'd like to see him start. Mount, I'm not too
definitely
sure.
A back three though, because let me just make
for me it's the back three.
What supports the back four, or rather the midfield three? Because what happens when we play a back three is we have a midfield two. And that makes
I'll be real. When we played in
Liverpool to dominate us in midfield,
and we played in the back four, we did get tricked a little bit by heavy Spurs attacks. It's good, but it's not something I'm really going to use in big games. And even when we played it, we started that against Plymouth, didn't we?
Yeah,
I think we did. We were abysmal in that game. Saved by a Kepa penalty in the 120-something minute. That game was an embarrassment. No, I do not want to see the back four. It's something that we could transition into maybe in the summer with a few transfers in the right positions. Right now, not in any serious game. We won the Champions League, we won the Club World Cup, all based off a back five. So I'd keep it at that.
Yeah. And I mean, we played the back five or three, whatever you want to call it, in both games in the Club World Cup. If we didn't doing predicted 11, you could be damn sure we're going to play a back three. But in terms of what we want and what we think makes more sense, Conor, put the same question to you as I just put to Lewis. Heavy, sided towards the back three, or do you think the back four could actually be a shout, also in the sense of potentially surprising Liverpool?
I'd go with the back three, bro. I don't really want to play a back four against Liverpool at all. I'm not going to lie to you. We'd probably play with Sarr at left back instead of Alonso. We did go to a back four. But even then, he doesn't really offer anything going forward. And what we did really well last time we played Liverpool is when we was playing that 3-4-3, we were just not allowing their fullbacks to push up the pitch at all. And we really did hurt him in that sense. And we saw it when we went to the 3-5-2, when Jorginho came on. And we actually switched back to 3-4-3 where Kovacic was playing some left forward. That's how effective it was. So I want to start with the 5-back, 3-back, whatever you want to call it. It's what won us the Champions League. It's what we're best with. Against Liverpool, it's not a time to experiment, especially in a cup final. So I want to see the 5-3-back, bro.
Yeah, play to your strengths.
Yeah,
exactly, bro.
I agree. I mean, Clutch, you mentioned it a little minute ago that you would like a back four. Do you see the boys' kind of arguments for why, in general, I think, I'm not sure about all of us, but most of us, definitely including myself, for most games, once we have time and finally use a preseason to strengthen it, was still confused by the fact that we didn't use last preseason to strengthen our shape in a back four. But now that we're still kind of on and off in it, and yeah, maybe it helps the attackers. But I don't think with how good Liverpool are in attack, I don't think we should be focusing on our attack. I think we need to focus on our defense, because Liverpool's defense is beatable enough that even in a back three, I think we can get a goal. But in a back four, I don't trust us to not concede way too much.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the back three is for games like Liverpool, for City. That's where you're going to want to run your back three. Other Premier League games, sure, that's where I want the back four to work on it. But the back three, especially when you're going to have the ultra attacking City and Liverpool, that's where you're really going to need that extra security in the back. And I do think that is the formation to kind of beat those guys. I mean, if you look at what Inter did and how they made Liverpool struggle, they used that same system with their wing backs switching from side to side. So, I mean, maybe that's how we're going to get the best out of the best to attack them. Yeah, so I mean, personally, I'm for the back three of this game for Cup Finals. Run the back three because you do want that security. So I would go back three.
Fair dues. Let me actually get the lineup screen on screen, because I think in this scenario, because now that we have a few fit players, there's actually a few scenarios to talk through. So this might actually take a hot minute. And the first one that we actually really badly need to discuss, and I'll actually start with you this time, Con, is the goalkeeper. Because Kepa Arrizabalaga played every round of the Carabao Cup we've been in until now. But we're now in a cup final. Last time, we, for that logic, then played Kepa in the cup final. We lost that cup final, arguably because we didn't have Mendy in goal. I mean, sure, there's always the debate to be had, yeah, maybe we don't concede Tielemans' shot, but maybe we concede differently and we still lose. We will never know. But what we do know is that the goal we conceded, most of us probably think Mendy saves it just because he's taller, not because Kepa did anything wrong, but just because Mendy is that much taller and has that much longer arms and maybe slightly better at technique at, flying for a save. But it's still also like, to some extent, you kind of a bit of fairness, like he got us to this position. I know people will use the Club World Cup as a counter argument. I don't think that stands because, number one, the only reason Kepa played the semi-final was because Mendy wasn't here, not because he was picked over him like he was for every round in the Carabao Cup so far. And number two, like that isn't like as such a cup where he's like almost a cup goalkeeper. And I said this on Jem's channel earlier, but I'm like, I'm usually a bit of an advocate for the whole cup goalie thing. I know a lot of people disagree with it, but my logic for it is if you want a good backup goalkeeper, you need to give them something to like make them to want to be a backup goalkeeper, and making them play in cups, including finals if you get there, is part of that. But two counter arguments to that now. Number one, Kepa is 95%, shall we say, or 90% leaving in the summer. So he's not really a player that we actually need to keep happy anymore. So like, if we knew Kepa was staying over the summer, maybe this is a scenario, okay, yeah, you need to play him because otherwise the morale could drop, blah, blah, blah. But if he's leaving in the summer anyway, how important is it really to keep someone happy? And what Thomas Tuchel said in this press conference, just for people that maybe didn't see it, he was basically asked the same question, and he said, Kepa deserves to start 1,000,000%, and he was brilliant while Mendy wasn't here. He was brilliant in the Club World Cup. But the fact that the way he kind of was not willing to kind of come to a point when he was trying to explain it, though he was like, yeah, I'll have to make a late decision, and I have to make the decision that I think's best, not maybe what's the fairest and stuff. The fact that he said it like that makes me think it's going to be Mendy, even though until that press conference, I was actually pretty confident it would be Kepa, because he did it last year in the FA Cup final. So why would he all of a sudden change it? And we have 5 subs. I'm not actually sure if we get a 6th sub if we go to extra time, but we have 5 subs for sure.
You would normally get an additional sub if you made it to extra time, yeah.
There you go. So even 6 subs by the time we make it to penalties. And if we do need that, we can still bring Kepa on like we did for the Super Cup. So, Con, with all of that said, is it an easy Mendy for you, or do you think it is much of a debate?
But the only point that I really acknowledge in all of this is Mendy's the best goalkeeper in world football. And if you're playing in the cup final against a team like Liverpool, you start Mendy. That's all I've got to say on that, bro. In my opinion, I get what people say about Kepa, he deserves it, but I'm sorry, it's not sentimental sport when you're at this level, And when you got the best goalkeeper in world football, he starts. It's as simple as that for me, bro.
Fair dues. There is actually the shouts coming out of Liverpool is actually that they might be playing Kelleher.
They are likely to play Kelleher, but Klopp previously have said that he is their cup keeper and that he will play.
There you go. So with that said, you could argue it's even harsher on Kepa if he doesn't get to play. But you can also argue it's an even bigger advantage to us if we do play Mendy, because we are the team that does play a better goalkeeper and they're not. Clutch, I'll go to you next. Simple Mendy for you as well? Or do you think there's a case to be made for Kepa?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the distance shot threat that Liverpool have, then it's easy Mendy for me. I think it's as much as it's going to be harsh on Kepa. I mean, remember the last time Kepa was in a Carabao Cup final? We all don't want to talk about that right now. But yeah,
Although,
and for me, it's
sorry
Mendy.
to interrupt you there. If I did include sentimental reasons even a little bit, I would almost want to give him the chance to make up for that, because I think like the way he's handled himself since that, I think he almost would deserve that chance. Again, like Con said, it's a cup final. We're not here to be sentimental. So I agree with that. But if it would be as easy as that, I almost would love to give him that chance just to rectify his howler or his problems that he had in a cup final. But go on, Clutch, sorry.
I mean, for sure. I think you know how big of a fan I am of Kepa, but I think Fantasy PGA Tour kind of put the nail on the head. It's a cup final. You put all your best players in. It doesn't matter. It's not like Liverpool aren't going to go for it. They're going to play all their best players, bar maybe Alisson. So it's not like they're going to rotate, so we shouldn't rotate. I mean, send Mendy out there. Mendy's the best keeper in world football. That's for me, it's that simple, as Con said.
Fair dues. Lewis, let me go with you next. Easy for you as well with Mendy?
Is it what we want to happen or what we think's going to happen?
Oh, whatever you want, mate. You can tell me both.
I want Mendy to start because for the obvious reason. I think Kepa's been really good and he's recouped a lot of the confidence that he lost back in 2020. And like, there's not really a lot that I'm worried about as opposed to him. It's just the same old stuff with long shots into the top corner that I just still think he struggles with. Other than that, though, he's all right. But I'd rather Mendy start. Mendy's the best in the world. You don't rest the best in the world in the final. Like, he's taken us as far as he can go, fair enough, but I still prefer Edouard Mendy, so I'd rather go for him. I think Kepa's going to start, though, in spite of all of that.
Did you see the press conference, by any chance, Lewis?
Nah.
I recommend you watch it after this because, like I said, I was completely with you until I saw the way Tuchel spoke about it, and now I even think Mendy will start, if I'm honest.
Really? What did he say?
Yeah, he's just the way, like, he was asked exactly that question, like, who's going to play? And he said, well, I'm not going to tell you type thing. It's going to be a late decision. And like I said, he just said, Kepa deserves it. And then he kind of just waffled around a bit in terms of maybe I can't pick on who
want to make it
deserves
predictable. Maybe just he doesn't want to. Yeah, he doesn't want it to be bait. Like, I think it still will be Kepa because that's usually, if he's done it for the FA Cup, he's going to do it for the League Cup final. And I think that's just the pattern of how he does it. Your cup keeper plays the cup games. It's the same thing that Liverpool are doing. So I don't see any reason why he'd do anything different. I would rather Mendy start, but I have enough confidence in Kepa, I guess. So I'm happy with it.
Fair dues. Ian, obviously I've seen you nod and react to what the boys have said so far, but similar explanations for you why it has to be Mendy?
Yeah, it's got to be Mendy. It's, you know, I don't want to be that person that turns around and looks back on it and go, oh, well, if we'd have had this person in goal, it would have been very different. But last year, FA Cup final against Leicester, it's a wonder strike from a very long way out, 30-odd yards. If Mendy's in that position, he probably gets a hand to it. Can't say he saves it, but he probably gets a hand to it. I can't... We've got 6 subs. Bring Kepa on for a shootout if it comes to that. Fine, fair enough.
Oh, 1,000,000%. He has to come on if we go to a shootout.
But until that moment, Mendy is the best goalkeeper in the world. He plays. Just because Liverpool are doing it, don't mean we have to do it. And again, we've got no commitment to Kepa now. I mean, he is likely to leave in the summer. So we can just crack on and do what we need to do. But you have to give yourself every chance to win a game. And Mendy gives you the best chance. It's that simple.
There you go. Even though, like I've said earlier already, I also agree it should be Mendy. We'll see who it actually ends up being, but I think it should be Mendy. The one positive and one argument for Kepa, the way Liverpool press, I still to this day trust Kepa more with the ball at his feet than I trust Mendy. So that is a small kind of argument pro Kepa, just because the way Liverpool will press us, we will need to use the goalkeeper, and the better the goalkeeper's distribution, the easier that makes it to beat Liverpool's press. Again, I'm not saying that's enough to play Kepa over Mendy, but
just make a point
that's
quickly,
one
bro.
positive that will come out. Go
on. So I watch Liverpool quite a lot, and one thing they're really good at, and they don't get enough credit for it, is crosses and set pieces. So
Yeah.
I get what you're saying with Kepa's better with the ball at his feet, but when they're swinging in about 15, 20 crosses a half, who do you want, Mendy or Kepa in that situation?
No, I agree with you. Yeah, you're right. You want Mendy. You want Mendy. Before we get to the actual back three, a couple of things that we probably should mention because it could potentially affect what we want to pick. Now, Roberto Firmino is out of the game. Diogo Jota is a doubt for the game. He might make it, but he's a doubt for the game. Let's say he's not fit. That leaves them in kind of two positions. Either do what they did against Leeds and I think potentially against Norwich as well, but definitely in the last game, would have played Luis Diaz as their left winger, Salah as the right winger, and Sadio Mane as kind of their striker, false nine, whatever, it's just down the middle. Or I guess Divock Origi. I mean, please play Origi if you want to, but so that's unlikely. But does that impact at all what you would do for the back three? I'll go the other way around this one. Do you think it affects it at all?
No, I think you've got to play best players.
Or not?
I just think you've got to play your best players. It'll probably be Rudiger on that left-hand side, Thiago Silva in the middle. The only query I'd have about him is, of course, that he played 2 games in the last week and he might be a bit tired. But
we had since Tuesday, to be fair. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah,
to be fair, Silva's probably had one of the most minutes out of the whole squad.
Yeah, no, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason.
Looks
for it.
The sharpest of the whole squad.
He is so composed. He is so good on the ball. That's what you're going to need. Again, also as well, the way that they press, you need people that are good on the ball, and there ain't many better than Thiago Silva. But again, you are right. They are going to come. They are going to press, regardless of who plays. Thiago Silva is not that big. He's got a bit of height on him, but he's not that big. If we're playing against a 6'5" centre forward that Liverpool had, it's a different story. But they haven't got one. So you've just got to play with what you know. And Lewis will have a little bit of a problem with this. I don't know whether it be Christensen on the right hand side or not. Just because potentially the pace of that front three could impact Thiago Silva a little bit. So potentially could you play someone else there? But I wouldn't change it that drastically. It wouldn't be nuts just purely because of who they're playing up front. Because I mean that regardless of who they play, they'll have the exact same game plan.
Yeah, no, they probably will. I mean, if I had to force you to pick one here, who would it be? Mind you, Reece James could potentially be here, which then leaves Aspie potentially somewhere else.
Don't like the pace of it. I think I need someone a bit quicker than Aspie, so I would probably, let's say Christensen for me now, but you could make an argument that Chalobah goes in there.
Nah, not for me.
Chalobah's quicker than Christensen?
There's probably not a lot in it, but I don't know. It's tough. I don't think Chalobah is going to play.
I do hate to be a stats man, but I swear AC had the quickest pace in the Euros.
Oh, fucking hell, mate. I think
you're right. I actually think I remember that stat. I think you're right.
You probably remember because Lewis probably tweeted about it for about 4 weeks running.
100%. You already know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not worried about the pace when it comes. Rudiger and Christensen are both rapid in themselves. If I remember back in Anfield when we beat him 1-0, this guy was outpacing Mane on counter-attacks the whole game. I'm genuinely not worried when it comes to pace. That's our best front three for me. That front three back three keeps the most clean sheets for me. So yeah, I wouldn't change anything. They're all perfect.
I agree. To be honest, regardless of whether Aspie plays right wing back or not, we'll get to that in a minute. But I think it should be that back three. Con, do you agree as well, or would you like to see a Aspie at right centre back? Would you potentially? We did it in the Champions League final. Reece James at right centre back.
No, if Reece James can play right wing back, please, we're starving. No, that three for me is perfectly fine. Really good. Thiago Silva right now playing at world class level. Christensen as well has been holding it down mad as well. So that three for me.
Fair dues. And then Clutch, just finish it off. Do you agree as well on the same three?
Yeah, it's your strongest back three. I think that's the three that's got to go.
Fair dues. You know what, Lewis? I'll actually go back to you. Let's do the two wing backs kind of in one go in a way. Because let's say James starts. Is Aspie a shout for a left wing back?
No,
I don't think so. Because he isn't going to be able to offer enough for us going forward. It's already hard enough with him on the right-hand side because of his positioning on transition. On the left-hand side, it's going to be even worse. You could potentially see Cho, maybe, but I think you're going to see Alonso. So I think Alonso is going to start on the left. And His record against Salah isn't really that bad. It was only the last game where he really got done by him, but I don't really have a lot of faith in Alonso defensively anyway. So whatever happens on Sunday, it is what it is. But I think Alonso starts. On the right-hand side, though, like I don't know if James does. He hasn't played in like 2 months. I'd be worried about his match sharpness. So I think it would be Aspi on the right. Even though, like,
again,
we know the
haven't
struggle.
watched the press conference. Honestly, watch it back. The way Tuchel speaks about it,
You
I
think
wouldn't
James
be
is
willing to
starting?
put money on it, but I'm almost willing to put money on Reece James starting.
If Reece James starts, I'm not going to be like, oh no, or anything. But I do have reservations about his match sharpness. But if Tuchel thinks he's good enough to start, Tuchel thinks he's good enough to start. So that's enough for me. Like we've seen how much we struggled about Reece anyway.
I'm very sure he's going to be involved. The question is, does he start him and bring Aspi on, or whoever, and take him off anyway? Or does he start Aspi and bring James on for the 60th minute, and also in case we go to extra time, so we have like a fresh Reece James when Liverpool...
I think it's more likely to see him off the bench, yeah. Because that would make more sense to me. Because he at least comes in and then half the players on the pitch are exhausted anyway and he's a bit fresh. So if he's not sharp, he's got something on them anyway. And we already know what he's like in terms of his physicality. You could put Van Dijk next to him and he's dropping him on the ground. So yeah, I'd want to see James off the bench. But if he starts him, cool. It's whatever.
Fair dues. Who do I go with next? You know what? Clutch. Reece James, Aspi for you on the right, and then we'll discuss the left side.
I think if James is ready to go, we start him, but I don't think he will. I think it'll be Aspi. If you're asking me, I mean, Cho's a shout for left wing back because one thing that Cho is really good at is switching the play, which is something that really hurts Liverpool because their wing back or their fullbacks don't really deal with that very well. But if it was me, I'd probably go Aspi on the left. I mean, defensive security first, and then James on the right. But because I would never pick Alonso, to be honest. Also, I want to get it out of the way. Werner's not starting, so we need to get that out of chat. Needs to get that out of their head.
No, Werner is definitely not starting.
Oh no! Anyway,
yeah, brilliant. Love that. I'll give my thoughts on it at the end. Ian, let me go to you. Aspi and Alonso for you. James and Alonso for you. Is anyone other than Alonso a shout for the left side?
The only person I would say that was an option at left wing back could potentially be Hudson-Odoi, but I don't like that as an idea. I think it has to be Alonso, unfortunately, at left wing back. And then, of course, because you've got him on the other side, you're probably going to have to play Reece James, I think. I'm not a massive lover of having that little kind of pace in the game. There is going to be opportunities to counter-attack in this game, and Reece James is better at counter-attacking than Azpilicueta is. Also, the other thing to consider is leadership, because it will come down to who we play in midfield. I don't really want Thiago Silva being captain for a cup final when he's not necessarily that experienced with being captain for Chelsea. If Jorginho plays, then that's another kind of slowerish player. There's so many potential nightmares. So I think it's going to be Alonso at left wing back and it's going to be Reece James at right wing back.
Fair. Con, what about you?
What, me, bro?
Yeah.
I don't think Hudson-Odoi starts on the left. You think Alonso's bad 1v1 defending? Look at Hudson-Odoi, man. So I think it'll be Alonso. Sar's definitely not starting in the back five. On the right side, I did listen to Tuchel's thing today, and he spoke about Reece. Like you said with the Mendy and Kepa thing, Reece is sort of in the same vein where you kind of get the feeling he might just be crazy. He might just do it, you know. I think it will come down to like judgment.
Next anyway, you rest him, chat. I mean, like.
Because I saw Reece James in training, like the videos was coming out, and he was getting stuck in. Like he looked like he's been playing regularly, you know. He was like barging everyone off the ball. I saw one part with Callum, and he just bodied him off the ball. I was like, give me that. I'm gonna dream, bro. I'm gonna dream because it's been so long since I seen my guy Reece James. I'm so bored of seeing these two. These two are wing back together. I don't like it, Laurenz. Reece James, bro. Alonso and Reece James.
Bro, I don't like it either. Now, I will actually agree with Clutch. I think Aspi at left wing back is a shout. I'll explain why I think that. Obviously, everyone's entitled to disagree. Now, my logic is, again, like Con just said, judging from the press conference, I think James starts. Could be wrong, but that's the vibe I got. I don't think Aspi the way Tuchel talks about him, the way Tuchel treats him, the way Aspie's acted, that I don't see a chance in hell that Aspie doesn't start the cup final. So if Reece James starts, that means Aspie starts either instead of Christensen or at left wing back to me. And I know what Lewis said in terms of Alonso's record against Salah isn't actually that bad. But in my opinion, the reason why it's not that bad is because Alonso, like I said earlier, doesn't actually directly play against Salah. Because Salah plays against Rudiger. Salah doesn't play against Alonso. Alonso plays against Trent, really. And I think if
But then Rudiger's not coming off either.
Sorry?
But then we're not saying Rudiger's getting benched either.
No, sorry. I'm not saying Aspie will play here. I'm saying Aspie plays left wing back. And of course he won't give us what potentially Alonso could give us going forward, but how many moments in the game does Alonso have going forward? Like, he will give you one or two decent crosses, and then we
does have a few, to be fair. No, I mean on the end of stuff too. Like, I remember the Lille game, he had 3 opportunities where he could have scored. Some two off the volley and everything.
I will say this though. We can slate Aspie for lack of pace, for being old. We can do whatever, all of that we want. But Aspie will get at that far post. There is no two questions about it. Aspie will be at that far post more than Alonso will, in my opinion. I know again,
but he won't be able to do as much because everything he does, he has to cut inside for.
Again, I mean, if Aspie's got to defend Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's not fast, I'm pretty sure Aspie can keep up with him.
Is the bigger worry?
No, that defensively, I hear you. Like, his level's clear of Alonso. That's no debate. I just mean offensively as well.
But when has Alonso given us anything offensively in the last 2 months other than that or that?
Let's presume Cover plays here, right? Let's presume Cover plays here. When it's Alonso, Cover is always here because Alonso isn't. Always. If this is Aspie, Cover doesn't need to do that. Meaning Cover can do that one, Aspie can do that one. I think it's an easy shift that can happen fluidly in game. Obviously, this won't happen throughout the entire game, but in moments where it's like, okay, Aspie rather stay back, you can either leave whoever plays here, whether it's Pulisic wide and Cover does that run, or Cover goes out wide and Pulisic comes inside. Well, again, we'll see whether it's Pulisic or whoever else. I think it's a shout. Again, I'm not saying this is what I expect to happen, but I still think, guys, if Reece James starts right wing, there's no chance he drops Aspie. There's no chance Aspie.
That's why I think Aspie starts and James comes off the bench.
Yeah. No, that's obviously a valid option, of course. But I don't know. He doesn't even seem to want to play Alonso. Like, even against Lille, he took him off to bring Malang Sarr on at left wing back. That doesn't seem like a manager to me that wants to play Alonso.
I don't want to play Alonso. I don't blame him. We don't really have much options.
No, of course
that's the thing.
Like, now, if
Alonso,
we have another
Kennedy,
option.
who we don't know.
I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying it's another option.
It's just you put anyone who's mainly right-sided on the left-hand side and ask them to cover that entire area of the pitch. I think they are going to struggle in that remark. Alonso struggles because he has no agility and he's just slow as hell and his decision-making isn't really the best. But he at least has the experience in that position and he actually offers you stuff going forward, which is fair enough. He is on the end of phase and he knows what positions to be in on the pitch in those areas. It's just he struggles covering them as well, but I'm not really as sure with Aspie unless you're just expecting us to sit deep for the most part. Because I do expect us to be more defensively minded because Liverpool play a high line as well. I don't know if we're going to be just planning on sitting deep or trying to push through off the wide areas because that's where we were at our best when we were playing through those areas with Reece James and Chilwell. So we will want to imitate that with Alonso at the very least. So I think he starts and I think it's Aspie on the right.
Fair. I would also say one other thing I say for Aspie. He might not be quick and he might have to cut inside if he's on the left. But the guy will try so hard that it will still be better than Alonso.
I agree, but like again, there's only so much you can get with work rate. Like you need to be able to do it on the pitch as well. And Aspie can, but
I agree
he's
with
more
you.
Comfortable
if
on the
we
right.
had Ben Chilwell, but the other option is Alonso.
I know, like I know we're stuck with him for the rest of the season. I don't trust him as much as you do, but I just don't think he gets benched in this one. I think you need someone who's fitted for that position, and at the very least, he is. And like you said, if he's dealing with Trent for the most part and not Salah, I'm a bit more confident. I'm not saying anything against Trent's ability, but it's not Mo Salah, so I feel a bit more confident on that mark.
It is true, but again, even that for me is a shout for Aspie because I trust Aspie so much more to block them Trent crosses, to just chuck himself in there while Alonso's just going to watch it fly in. And Morton, you're a confusing person. Yes, Alonso is that slow. He's even slower than that slow. But anyway, obviously I chucked Kovacic in there already. Now that he is fit, I think we can probably all presume that he will start in midfield. The question is, who does he start alongside of? Because even Matt Law on the London Blue podcast shout out was talking about he doesn't see Jorginho not playing against Lille as a thing of Jorginho being dropped. Also, Tuchel in the press conference again today was talking about, I didn't like the fact that he put it together with Lukaku, but he said, Jorginho's just played so much that in terms of mentally and physically, just a little bit tired. And the way Matt Law said it, he thinks Tuchel just wants him ready and needs him for the final.
Mm.
But if Jorginho plays, I think it should be with Kante against Liverpool. In general, I wouldn't say that. In general, I think cover Jorginho is great. But maybe against Liverpool, I think we need the runner. And I'm just not a fan of cover Kante together. I know it was okay the other day, but they just don't have a connection. And when we're being pressed, it's a problem when your midfield two don't have a connection. Like even against Lille in the first half, the amount of misplaced passes between these two is mad. They both individually had decent performances. Kante obviously incredible and cover decent until he had to come off, obviously injured. But they just don't have a connection. So I threw cover in there as if it's like almost guaranteed. But maybe it could actually be Jorginho and Kante. I mean, again, Matt Law doesn't know the exact plans and ideas and lineups of Thomas Tuchel for the weekend. But the way he said that, I feel like, would he have said that if he has an inkling that Jorginho has been dropped? I feel like he wouldn't have said that. So that makes me think Jorginho will start. And do I really see Tuchel going with Jorginho and cover? Again, if he does, I'm even more confident that it's going to be Aspie and not Alonso if he does go for that midfield too. But I honestly don't know. I'll go with Ian first, actually. Cover Kante for you? Does Georgie come in instead of either one? And if so, instead of who?
Do you know my genuine opinion?
Please.
I think we crowd the midfield and I think we play all three in there.
So you don't think we'll play a 3-4-3?
I think it'll look more like a 3-5-2 than it will a 3-4-3.
And
Kante would be the one that would go in, and again, either one, depending on where the ball is and pitch and whatever, would be the ball progressor, either him or Kovacic.
I hear it. I wouldn't be a million miles shocked at it.
No, I think one of the big things is it depends also who plays on that right wing, right forward role. If it's Mount can come in and help out with the midfield work 100%. If it's Ziyech, he ain't going to come in and help. You know, he's going to be near about, but he's not going to win you the ball back the same way that someone like Mount or Kante would. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a really iffy one. I think it will probably be a 3-5-2, looking probably like this as it does at the moment. It would just be whoever there is at number 10 will drop back in. I completely think Jorginho starts, so that is 100% guaranteed. And I think Kovacic is one of the best players in the world in that central midfield area, so he has to start for me as well. Kante is an absolute joke, so I just think you've got to play to your strengths, and if you can absolutely dominate the midfield with those three, I think you just do it.
This is the argument for the back four. Exactly what you just said. This is the argument that we kind of want all three. Because, I mean, I get your point, but
if you go to a back four, you have to start Mount in the
pragmatic and negative if you start essentially Kante as your right forward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's one of those.
So if it is that formation, do you think cover Jorginho or do you think Jorginho?
If it's this, I think it's Kovacic and Jorginho. Which I just personally find it mad that you would leave Kante out of a cup final when he is fully fit, ready to go. Because I think it was Jody Morris was saying it on an interview the other day. He turned around and said, like, when Kante, we were unlucky that Kante wasn't available for like 45% of the games that Chelsea played when he was with Lampard. You know, everyone knows that if Kante is fit and available and ready to go, you play him. Like, is that
unless you play him too high up the pitch against a low block, then it's not a good idea.
Yeah, I do just think I do think that we're going to be the low block. I do think that the game is going to be very different, and I do think that we're going to be on the back foot and then go forward when we can. It's what we did against Lille as well. They really came onto us in the second half. They had nothing to lose, and obviously we got the goal on the breakaway. And we could have had a couple more on the breakaway.
Sorry to interrupt you. I still don't understand now that we didn't have Reece James for 2 months, why you wouldn't just sometimes play Kante right wing back. I think he'd be fantastic. Obviously, not as good as in the midfield because that's his main position. But if you want to play all three and you don't want to force it into the formation, I think Kante as right wing back would do a lovely job. But I know I might be quite alone with that opinion. I mean, I get what you're saying, Ian, in terms of shift it around. I think we're more likely in terms of the majority of us 5 here to go for this formation. So that's why I'm going to leave that on screen. And I'll move on. Let's see what the other boys think. Con, I'll ask you, if it is this formation, obviously Ian made the point, maybe we shift it and it's all 3. But if it is this formation, who do you reckon is going to be in midfield? And also, number one, who do you reckon Tuchel will put there? But also, who would you put there, I guess, if it's different?
I think Tuchel's going to put Jorginho and N'Golo there. If it was me...
To be fair, with the whole injury thing to Kovacic as well, I mean, he's saying he's ready to go, but they might still be a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So yeah, I'd probably go with Jorginho and N'Golo just for that reason. And I hear what Craig's saying about playing all 3, and that's not about bad shout, but the fact that Tuchel changed that formation last time we played Liverpool, and then he switched back to the 3-4-3, so it kind of worries me. But if we are setting up in a sort of low block and not trying to match him stride for stride, then maybe you might sacrifice. I don't know, bro, with Tuchel. It's an interesting one, though, for sure.
I just think the pitch at Wembley is too big to play a defensive 3-5-2 or 5-3-2. And I also think where Liverpool's biggest weaknesses are both their wings, like in terms of defensive wings, like Trent. And Robertson obviously doesn't push as much, but even on Robertson's side, I think you can get in there. So then only playing 2 up top stops you from actually exposing those areas as much because neither
it was so good,
let alone Ashby, but neither of them will get high enough quickly enough. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it was so good with that 3-4-3 as well when we were just pushing Trent. And was it Tsimikas? How do you say his name?
I think Tsimikas played against us. Yeah, it could have been. Robertson, was he suspended? I think he might.
Yeah, I don't think Robertson was playing, but like we managed to push him back so well. And I don't know. I think Tuchel will go with that same sort of thought process, you know, because both times we played Liverpool this season, like until we was down to 10 men, you know, like we weren't really defending against them at all. Like we could match him. And I think we can match him, you know. Like yeah, it sucks having Chile, but I think we can match him. But it depends with Tuchel. I think if he's brave, he goes with the 2. He goes with the pivot. If he's a bit more cautious, he goes with the 3-man midfield.
Again, like I say, I just think go cover Georgie. If Cover's fit, just play Ashby wing back. Hey, he might not do that, but I think that gives us that a little bit extra stability that we lack when we don't have Kante midfield. Do I want Kante not to play? No, especially after his brilliant performance, especially second half against Lille. It's just Cover's too good. Cover's too good. And I also don't want Cover and Kante because then it's always Cover that has to sit and that makes Cover nowhere near as good as he can be because it's always Cover that stays and Kante that goes and that takes so many of Cover's biggest strengths out of Cover's game. And that's super frustrating to me as well. Clutch, what do you think? Midfield 2.
If you're asking me, I would probably do Kante because last time, I mean, they both were brilliant against Liverpool last time and they were pretty good against Lille, but if you're asking me what Tuchel's going to do,
pretty good against Liverpool? Were they that good against Liverpool, or did we get hit on the break too easily in the first half, especially?
I think you're actually right about that. Yeah, I'd still probably go Kante, but I think Jorginho. I love Jorginho as much as I do, and I think Jorginho will start this game. I think it'll be Jorginho Kante because I mean, anytime Kante's fit, he plays. It doesn't matter. And I think the way Tuchel was talking about Jorginho, he does start. And I love Jorginho, and I love him to start. But I can't see dropping Kove at the moment, and I know Kante's going to start. So
fair. I mean, Lewis, you just said it there. Do you reckon it's going to be Jorginho and Kante? Yeah.
Yeah, same. You need Jorginho for control of the midfield, and we didn't have a lot against Liverpool. In spite of the masterclass of the 2 players individually, you did lose a possession a lot in the midfield for me in that last game. Need Jorginho in there, and N'Golo Kante is just the big game player. So there's no reason for you to bench him in this sort of game if he's fit. This guy is going to absolutely batter Liverpool's midfield, and I'm sure of that. So yeah, Jorginho, Kante.
I can't remember who made the point, but I think for the reason that Kova might not be 100% fit, I think therefore Georgie Kante is probably what's going to happen. And then you bring Kova on whatever position that may be. You bring him on for one of these guys and you kind of let him play half left forward, half midfielder. I don't know. But I think Jorginho and Kante is certainly the most likely. Let's get to the front three. Because there is two positions where I'm like, these two must start. Absolute must start. There's one position which you can debate, and then I see people in the chat talking about Lukaku must start. Don't know what games you've been watching to think that makes any sense, but sure. I mean, someone said, I think RD said Van Dijk is going to just outmuscle Havertz. He probably would or will if Havertz gets that close to Van Dijk, which is Havertz's job not to do. But also, Lukaku got outmuscled by Anderson from Crystal Palace. So if you think Lukaku would not get in his current form, would not get outmuscled and shoved off the ball and pitched, basically, by Van Dijk, I think you've not been watching the last 10 games or last 11, excluding the last one. Personally, my opinion. Fair enough, each to their own. Now, I'll just show you who I mean in terms of who must start. Obviously, it's in the title and it's in the thumbnail. But these two must start. I think both of them have done plenty in the last game to warrant that. I think Pulisic deserves to play in his best position again. I think Havertz, it was such a big difference in terms of Lukaku compared to Havertz in the last two games. Again, I need to re-emphasize this. Lukaku had 7 touches against Crystal Palace. Kai Havertz scored with his 8th touch against Lille, and it was in the 9th minute. Think about that. Mm-hmm. Think about what I just said. Lukaku had 7 touches in 90-plus minutes against Palace, and Havertz took less than 10 minutes to have 8 touches and scored with that 8th touch. I don't even think this should be a conversation to be had. I think Lukaku should be stripped of a shirt number. That's how embarrassing that is. Again,
just retire the number 9 shirt.
Yeah, give it up.
Just retire it. Just put it.
Yeah, I'm tired of it now. No redemption. I'll just bin it off.
Yeah, I agree with that. But the question is, who plays here? Because Mount is back fit, and Hakim Ziyech, obviously, we don't know 1,000,000% quite how fit he is. He looked okay when he walked off. Also, the fact that he had the banter to go off the pitch, and then when he saw the sub wasn't ready, he just walked back on the pitch to sit down, which I think, first of all, brilliant. Second of all, doesn't make him look that bad. But he's been in great form. And Mount usually, the problem with Mount is when he plays like 15 games in a row, he's at his very best. When he's been injured or rested, that's when Mount is not that great. But I feel we need Mount for a final. I feel that, especially because Ziyech, if we play the fullback and we play Ziyech out here, Ziyech guaranteed to start. But here, Ziyech isn't at his very, very best anyway, so I think Mount makes more sense. Clutch, do you see what I mean? Do you agree, or would you go with Ziyech? I presume Pulisic and Havertz are the two to go for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, Havertz is obvious. I mean, to go along with that point of Lukaku, we can't just have somebody standing around. We can't have that anymore. If Lukaku's willing to make some runs around like Havertz does, sure, he can play, but he's not going to do that. We know that. He's not going to do that. So Havertz has to start. There is not even a question. At least he can drag Van Dijk out of position, leaving it just to be one defender back there pretty much, and most likely Matip, and having either Mount or Pulisic, especially Pulisic. He deserves to start, so he's going to start because I don't see anybody else. Cho, I don't see him starting. The question is Mount or Ziyech. I think if it's the back four, it has to be Ziyech. But in this formation, I think it has to be Mount. But you do raise a great point that when Mount is out for a while, he's not great when he comes back in. It's just, you know what? I'm going to go with Ziyech. I want Ziyech. Even though Mount is my second favorite player, I'm going to go Ziyech.
Fair dues. Before I move on, just another stat to support the fact that Havertz must start no matter what. We've played 4 finals in the last year. The only final we lost was the only final that Kai Havertz didn't start. So, and in 2 of the other ones, he scored the bloody winner. Sure, Carabao Cup was a penalty. I get that. But who's to tell me Lukaku probably would have missed? Do you know what I mean? He probably would have gotten so tired on the run-up, they would have fallen over. Nah, I'm taking a piss. But you know what I mean? we win finals when Havertz plays. So why on earth would you not play Havertz? That makes no sense. Who do I go with next? How about Lewis? Front three for you? Pulisic, Havertz guaranteed? Or do you have a road out of somebody else like Callum, I guess?
Nope, no chance. I'm a huge pusher of Cho Prop, but he's been so poor the last few months. I'm not here for it. Pulisic needs to build on the form that he had against Lille. It's a perfect opportunity for him, so I wouldn't bench him. Same thing with Kai Havertz. I could see Mount start, but I would Ziyech came off injured as well, so we're not really too sure about him. So it probably would have to be Mount. Potentially Ziyech on in the second half, but we've done that before. Ziyech didn't start in the Club World Cup final either, so we should be fine with or without him, even though he's been in great form for us. But yeah, Mount, Havertz, Pulisic for me.
There you go. I mean, Saggy Samuel said here, Havertz isn't a striker. Well, he might not be, but he's still better than Lukaku at playing whatever position you call it. Number two, Liverpool don't play a striker. And they're way ahead of us in the league. And City don't play a striker. And they're way ahead of us in the league. So who's telling you that you actually need a striker? Like,
Can I make a point about that?
Sorry?
Can I make a point about that?
Sure.
So somebody was talking the other day, and they said the reason why City and Liverpool can get away with that is because teams come to defend deep against them. So when you have like a false nine type of striker, you have somebody who's going to move and drag those defenders out of position. And that's why Chelsea struggles so much, is because we try to play a in-the-box striker, and a lot of teams defend the same way against us that they do against Liverpool, which is deep and in the box. So by that logic, Havertz has to be the guy that we use because, I mean, if teams are going to defend like that, we need somebody who's going to drag defenders out of the box, not keep them in the box.
The only argument that Lukaku has is if we do what especially Ian was talking about and what kind of a lot of us expect to naturally happen a little bit, is that we're going to be slightly more defensive and we're going to be the team that plays on a break. That's the only thing Lukaku is actually reasonably good at. But Havertz played too well in the last game to be dropped. Like, it would be so incredibly unfair for Lukaku to play 10 games in a row, be shit in every single one of them. Sure, he scored 3 goals, one against Chesterfield, scrappy, one against Al Hilal, lucky, and a good goal against Palmeiras, to be fair, but that was the only good goal he scored in 10 games. And that was the only goal involvement he had in those 10 games as well. So on the basis of that, and also, do I think Lukaku is that much better counter-attacking than Havertz? No. Is he quicker? First 10 yards, Havertz is definitely quicker. And then in the long strides, I don't think they take much from each other because Havertz is quick. I think Havertz might even be quicker. So, I think it must be those. Con, I'll ask you. Pulisic, Havertz guaranteed for you, and then what about the other side?
See, with the Havertz thing, the reason I'd start Havertz, because I know as a fan myself, and I'm being honest here, if we lose and we start Lukaku, I would have said, why didn't we start Kai? But if we start Kai and we lose, I won't say we should have started Lukaku. I can be honest enough to admit that I don't think he offers us what Kai does. So if Kai starts and we lose, I'm not going to cry about Lukaku not starting. I'll keep it real. When Pulisic has to start, man, he was fantastic against Lille. Absolutely fantastic. Like, he had to build up on that left side, like on his own at times. He looked very confident. His dribbling was on par. Like, it's good. That finish as well, fantastic. So I'd like to see him play. And the last positions, I don't know, because Ziyech should really start if we talk about merit. He's been Chelsea's best attacker for the last couple of months. But Mason Mount is a big game player, Who would I start? I would probably start Ziyech just for the fact Mount's coming off an injury, and he hasn't been in the best of forms.
Ziyech is also kind of coming off an injury, even if it's a very small injury.
Yeah,
also coming off an injury.
When there's so much space behind Liverpool, who do you trust to make that pass? Ziyech or Mount? I trust Ziyech more.
I agree with that. Let me just say something. I don't think in this formation Ziyech is deep enough to play those passes, which is why he doesn't work as well in this formation.
I guarantee you, bro, at some point in the game, there'll be a pass that Ziyech plays.
Oh, yeah. He'll play one or two, but you also know our attackers.
Exactly. So that's, for me, it'd probably just be Ziyech, just because that moment in a cup final, he's a great moments player. So, and like you said, we've got 5 subs. We have 5 subs. So if it's not working, we can change it. No big deal.
Exactly. And that also goes for Lukaku. Like, he's struggling anyway. Hey, if Havertz runs them tired, then bring Lukaku and make him score. If that's what needs to be done to win the final, that's what I want. Lukaku is not that big of a problem, not much of a concern to me. I'm going to be like, just don't start Lukaku. No. If we need Lukaku during the game to win the game and then he helps us win the game, fantastic. That's what we bloody signed him to do. So if that's what he can do, brilliant. But there's no chance Havertz doesn't deserve to start initially. What happens later on during the game is a different discussion. Ian, are you the only one I haven't asked yet?
You are, yes.
There you go. So, front three, similar to the boys, and then Mount or Ziyech.
Yeah, Pulisic, Havertz have to start. I would play Ziyech on the right-hand side just because we don't know currently what the situation is with Mount. I see Mount as a big game player. I mean, the pass in the Champions League final was absolutely exceptional. There was space in behind, which we exploited, which was fantastic. I think Kai Havertz is deceptively quick. He glides, which is superb. Doesn't necessarily, he's not a powerful runner or anything like that, but he does move the ball so well and he can drag us up the pitch.
Especially on that big pitch.
Yeah, a massive pitch. And I'll be honest with you, I think if both are fully fit and both are on form, which one am I picking? I'm probably picking Mount. But Ziyech has played more regularly, he's played more recently. Playing with, again, if you play Kante in midfield, you could afford to let Ziyech drop in a bit deeper and make that three in midfield potentially as well. And then have Havertz and Pulisic going up top by themselves, which is then where a deep pass might be created. Also, the other thing, there's positives and negatives to both sides of this. Mount has got, I don't know for a fact, but I personally feel like Mount is quicker than Ziyech. So you would then turn around and say that if you wanted to bring him on the counter-attack, then that's a superb way to play it. You could then argue, to be fair, that if you wanted to start him because we're going to play on the counter-attack, there's definitely an argument for that. But I would play Ziyech in this one to start with. Again, we've got 5 subs, so we can bring him on if needs be. But I do just feel like this game is going to be very technical, and I think that Ziyech, at the moment, right now, again, because we haven't seen a lot of Mount, Ziyech is the more technical player, so he should be playing in this game.
That's fair. I also just fear Mount is. I've never, and don't remember Mount ever being great when he's come off the bench. I feel like he needs that vibe of, I'm getting ready, prepared to start the game. I'm getting stuck in. Like, I feel like he needs that a little bit. Again, not every game, and I'm sure he could do something when he comes on. But I feel like
I think another thing as well, Lars. To be fair, very quickly. Sorry, I just interrupt your point.
No
but
worries.
Cup final, Mount hasn't done it for Chelsea yet in terms of a domestic cup final. I think there is a real intent there for him to be able to come on and make a big difference. Potentially, I feel like that's probably more than Ziyech. I think if you turn around to Ziyech and said, we need you to come on, make a difference, he'd still play his normal game. I could see Mount maybe going a little bit above and beyond to get the result. And it sounds really bad. He's the kind of guy that would risk everything to go and make sure he gets that final pass or whips a ball in or gets on the end of that loose ball and goes on and whatever. I don't necessarily see that being Ziyech, especially later in the game as well. But I just think there might be a little bit more desire from Mount later on in the game. So, which is why
you say that Ziyech has a knack for getting us late goals.
Oh yeah, no, completely. He definitely has got the ability. It just depends on how the game goes. I think that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. I mean, you're in Europe, so you'll probably have a better idea than I will of this. I don't think some countries have what we call the League Cup. They just have their normal.
No, I think now. I think France ended the whole thing last year. They had the League Cup until last year. Yeah. Right now, I think England is the only country that has it.
And I think that potentially, I mean, we all know this is a cup final. We all know it's Wembley. We all know it's 90,000 people. I think Mountain will probably understand a little bit more that. There's that really cringy thing at Wembley that Jody Morris tweeted put a picture of on Instagram earlier, that you can go in and you go on the pitch as anyone and leave as a legend or anything like that. I just feel like that kind of thing with bringing Mount on is something that's going to really hit home. And I do think that he was all right in the Euros, probably could have done a little bit more. Is that partly due to the way England played or whatever? Who cares? I just feel like he might have that a little bit more like kick up the arse kind of thing to really make a difference, really, really make an impact.
That could very well be the case. Let me just react to this comment here. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, we have over 200 people watching, which I massively appreciate. Get subscribed if you haven't already, please do. Excuse me. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. Every new subscriber counts. Hit that big...
Come on, Lars, don't die on us, please. Jesus, come on.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Come on.
That's what happens when you do things live. Yeah, please subscribe, hit the big red subscribe button, and smash the like button for me as well. Like I say, over 200 people here. Let's get to at least 100 likes, ideally 150. So smash the like button, doesn't cost you any money, barely cost you any time. Let me just read that comment by Slob. What name? Lukaku can handle VVD strength. Van Dijk, of course. Werner making those runs and Mount tracking back. Havertz and Pulisic are so poor against big teams. Now, Lukaku can handle VVD strength. Sure. I can maybe accept that argument. Werner making those runs. Sure, he will make those runs for sure. Mount tracking back, I can also see that logic. But now where it comes to complete waffle is Havertz and Pulisic are poor against big teams. Now, Pulisic has 4 goals and assists against Liverpool in 4 games, and we're quite literally playing Liverpool. So he has the best record of any of our players against Liverpool. So you can't be telling me that Pulisic isn't good against big teams. That's probably the only thing he's good at, if anything. And Kai Havertz won us the Champions League final, man. You can't be telling me he's not good against
bait.
big games. Like, that's what? How are you coming up with that idea? Especially, by the way, when you've seen the teams that Lukaku has scored against, and the only good team Lukaku scored for us against is Arsenal. And that was early in the season, Arsenal, when Arsenal were awful. And Lukaku was like, hi, I'm coming back to Chelsea. I haven't given an interview yet. Do you know what I mean? Like, Lukaku isn't that Lukaku anymore. And we also don't play like that anymore because, I guess Reece James could be back, to be fair. But yeah, no, unfortunately, Slob, I could not disagree with you more in terms of Havertz and Pulisic are so poor against big teams. Quite literally, the stats tell you the opposite. Oh, but your other options, make sense. But one other thing I would like to say in terms of the Lukaku against Van Dijk and Havertz against Van Dijk. Now, Van Dijk has come back at the start of the season from ACL, from having torn his ACL. Now, what is the big problem when you've done your ACL in? The problem isn't running in a straight line. The problem is changing direction. Now, who's going to make him change direction more? Havertz or Lukaku? The problem isn't because physically, I don't think Lukaku beats Van Dijk either, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Not in his current form. If he's fully fit, fully confident, it's a different scenario. But that's not what it feels like. I think Havertz causes Van Dijk more problems than Lukaku does. And the other reason, I must say here, we're not playing against one centre-back. If Havertz can't necessarily handle Van Dijk, just move on the other side. Because Liverpool isn't going to switch the centre-backs. So if theoretically that actually is the problem, just take Van Dijk out of the game. Don't use that side and make Matip look silly and make the Liverpool fans on Jem's channel look silly who were telling me that Matip is better than Rudiger. Well, I'm like, sorry, excuse yourself. But
I'm convinced this guy is just trolling at this point.
Probably.
He just said Werner won.
What game has Werner won us Fantasy PGA Tour? I'm not sure what game that is.
He just told me that Werner won Plymouth and Palmeiras when he came on. That's what he just said to me. And then he just said, what did he say? Yeah. He said that Lille won because Renato Sanchez was bad, not because Havertz and Pulisic. Like, at this point, he's just trolling because that is, like, I hate to say it, but that is just no knowledge at all, if that's what you think. Because Renato Sanchez was literally their best player.
Sorry? You were going to say something, Lewis?
Yeah, I was saying Renato Sanchez was actually good.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he kept the ball too long sometimes, but that happens when your teammates are not as good as you are. So that's why, Renato Sanchez did that. He was the one driving through the midfield. Like, you're basically saying, Renato Sanchez wasn't good. If that's what you think, then you think Kova isn't good. Because Renato Sanchez played like Kova has many, many times. But hey, that's maybe a different discussion for a different day. We've been going for an hour and 20 minutes, to be fair. So we're certainly getting closer to rounding that off. But actually, Clutch, I don't think it was Fantasy PGA Tour, which was talking about Renato
it's
Sanchez.
Slob.
I think that was Slob.
It's Slob.
But here we are. I mean, everyone is entitled to their opinion. At the same time, we're just giving you the teams that we would like to see. Whatever Tuchel goes with is what Tuchel goes with, and then we sit here after the game debating whether it worked or not. And hopefully it will have that. Let me just quickly ask. I mean, I think Craigo mentioned it already, but are we all in agreement that if it goes to penalties, that Kepa must come on? Con?
Oh, definitely. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, bro.
Oh, good. Fair. And Clutch, I presume you agree with that as well?
Yeah, I think we need to put Kepa in for penalties.
There you go. I mean, and then I'm very confident. As much as, again, the Liverpool fans on James' channel were trying to tell me, Kelleher is amazing at penalties. I'm like, you've clearly not seen us take penalty shootouts with Kepa in goal. I mean, obviously, I know we lost the Super Cup on penalties with Kepa in goal, and we also lost this very final against City. But it's different. it's different. Kepa is a different man these days. Kepa is a different animal. There's not that much more to add, really. I'm just excited for the final. I just really hope we turn up. Like that FA Cup final last year really annoyed me because, we could have, unlucky, obviously, with that Chilwell's goal didn't count because of offside. And we were unlucky that, you could argue maybe the handball in the build-up, maybe Tielemans' goal shouldn't have stood. They changed the handballs rules every 2 days anyway. So who knows what rules currently apply. I think it was a case of last season, it was fair. This season, it would have been called off. Or is it the other way around and it should have been called off? Who knows? But you can't certainly say we were a bit unlucky to lose that FA Cup final against Leicester. But were we good in that game? No. Do I necessarily expect us or need us to be good tomorrow? No. What I need to do is need us to win. That's what I need to do. That's what they need to do. And that's what I'm hoping we can get it done. So let's do some score predictions. Why don't I start with you, Ian? What do you reckon? How's it going to go?
I still think it's going to be 1-1. I think this is going to be a game of very few goals. I see it going to penalties. And if that is the case, then I back Kepa. Years ago in that whole saga, I understand why he wanted to stay on the pitch. He backed himself at penalties. He's done it for us since. I understand, although it was wrong to not go off the pitch, he backed himself, and I back him as well. So I think it's got potential. I think it's likely got 1-1, and then Kepa penalty saves, and we all go out happy.
Well, that would be good. That would be good.
Or
Fantasy
not
PJ
go
does say here, it could be our last final of the year. Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, we don't go home happy at all. We just go out on the piss.
There you go. And then go home happy after that. I mean, it could be our last final of the year, but come on, we're still in the FA Cup. Who's to say we're not going to go to that final as well? It's what we do. Hopefully this time win it, unlike too many times with the FA Cup. The FA Cup is starting to annoy me, by the way. Like the amount of times we make finals and then don't win it pisses me off. I'd rather just go out against Luton than lose in a final. Do you know what I mean? But here we are. 1-1 and then a win on penalties by Ian, Craigo, whatever. Clutch. Score prediction.
My heart says 2-1 Chelsea. My head agrees with Craig and says 1-1.
And then we win on pens?
Yes, we win regardless. I think we win.
Big up. I rate it. Lewis. Score prediction.
1-0 Chelsea, Jorginho penalty, frustrate the hell out of Liverpool, get a lot of anti-football comments, and a third man of the match against Liverpool in a row for the Danish Maldini, and we all go home happy.
I would love the total shithousery involved in every single bit of that. It would be elite.
It's just the way we do it.
They would piss off.
It actually is, though. Like, it actually is.
They have the nerve to call it Anfield South with a 2 wins out of 5 record here. It's embarrassing. 5 appearances in Wembley in itself. Klopp can't even spell domestic cup.
No, he can't. He quite literally can't. He probably spells it Scouse. Con, score prediction?
I love that comment from Lewis saying about the anti-football comments. It's so true.
I'm here for it. I love it. Remember when they said they liked us on the Lampard? Ugh.
Yeah, the anti-football comments, man. It's only Liverpool fans who say that all the time, man. It's fucking hilarious.
It's so easy to trigger them as well. You need one of those things to go off and we're good.
I'm going to be just totally blindly optimistic here. So I'm going for 2-0 Chelsea. I reckon we'll sit deep, we'll hit them on counters, and you're going to see why we're champions of the world and champions of Europe. Don't come back to this if we lose.
Nope. Of course. Don't come back to this. I will go for a mix between Clutch's heart and Clutch's head. I think we're going to win 2-1, but I think we're going to win 2-1 in extra time.
Nice.
That's what I reckon. I think not 1-1 after 90 minutes, because that's just what happens against Liverpool. Mind you, we've played against them twice this season, and we've drawn on each occasion. 1-1 at Anfield, 2-2 at Stamford Bridge. So, and mind you, that 2-2 at Stamford Bridge, we didn't even have Reece James. Whether he starts tomorrow or comes on tomorrow, we're better off for it regardless. And I will also say, we're definitely in better form now than we were when we played Liverpool. Like, we still don't play great football, but we've won our last 6 games. Like, we're in much better form now than when we played that 2-2 against Liverpool. But again, like somebody else said, I like they were talking about in the press conference, you could argue, in terms of Thomas Tuchel was asked, are we the underdogs or whatever, and is that a good thing for our team? He didn't really want to say it like that, but I 1,000,000% think it is. Like, look at the cup finals we lost against bloody Arsenal. Bloody Arsenal, flip's sake. Do you know what I mean? It's much better when we're the underdogs because then we can just even, I don't know, what's the word? Soak in the tears and the unhappiness and the anger of the oppositions when we should have won and they were just defending.
Exactly.
I don't care.
They're fuming because they feel like they should have been favourites. I get you.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't want us to be too defensive. Like, for example, when we lost at home against City, we were way too defensive. We could not get our balls to our forwards. So I hope it's not like that. But I do hope we just keep the shape, keep control. I hope that while we might sit a bit deeper, I still hope that we have a good amount of possession. I'm not saying it needs to be 60%. I'm not even saying it needs to be 51%. But don't let it be sub 45. Do you know what I mean? Like, make sure we have a reasonable amount of control in the game. Let's make sure that we have spells in the game where we control it. Like, let's not have Liverpool have their way for the whole game. Because at some point it will get tiring. At some point, one lapse of concentration will happen, no matter who it is. And it can happen to anybody. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's then Alonso that plays or like Rudiger had a lapse of like people say Alonso was at fault for the goal Salah scored at the bridge. I disagree. I think it's Rudiger's fault because Rudiger followed Salah and then didn't run back with him when Salah made the run into the box. And then once Salah is 1-on-1 with Alonso in the box, what's Alonso going to do? Like, he can't tackle him because then he's going to go down because Salah, even if he doesn't touch him, Salah will go down and the ref will give them a penalty because it's Salah and it's Liverpool. And like Salah obviously did that shimmy. How's Alonso meant to know that Salah's going to do a shimmy? Like, that's the point of a good shimmy. How's he meant to know? So that's what happens when you put a defender like Alonso 1-on-1 against Salah in the box. But that was Rudiger's fault. So the more we let them have their way, the easier one of these lapses of concentration happens. While we have the ball and we control it to some extent, even if it's only an hour and a half, it's much easier to get through the whole game. And just make sure we use that pitch. Like, we play wing backs. Make sure we switch that play. Make sure we make runs. But when I say make runs, don't just make runs when the centre back has the ball to play an outrageous 70-yard pass that requires to be perfect for us to get the chance. Make it a bit easier for the rest of the teammates. Make a run when the centre back has the ball, but then come back and make another run when the midfielder has the ball, when the wing back has the ball, when the winger has the ball. Like, just make sure we move. Make sure we move, and just hope we get it done. Any last thoughts by all of my beautiful guests here? Because you're so excited, Ian, I'll let you go last because maybe it's the most interesting thing to say.
It's not. I just got to question who the referee is.
Who is it? Do you know?
Not Anthony Taylor.
It's not Anthony Taylor. Okay, that's all right.
And not Mike Dean.
Okay.
Let me see. Surely we'll say it here.
That's fine.
Stuart Atwell.
Yeah, okay.
Not really sure if I have an opinion on him, to be honest. So, that's good.
No, Liverpool
right.
hate him more than we do, so we're good.
Liverpool hate him more than we do. Come on. Inject it in my veins. Lewis, any other last thoughts you have?
Straight into these Scouse bastards up the Chelsea.
Pick up. Con, last thoughts? What do you reckon?
Echo what Lewis says. Not gonna lie. Some people might get annoyed by it. I don't like Scousers, bro. I don't like going to Liverpool. Don't like the area. I don't like the people. I don't like the accent. I don't like how they spit at me when they talk. Like, but I just not a fan of Scousers, bro. So beating them will be so happy because I can't be arsed listening to them just chat crap for like the next 10 years.
You are a normal person, Con. You are a normal person with normal views.
There you go. Of course. Clutch. Now, I want two things from you. Number one, you're probably not going to do it, but number one, your final thoughts, and number two, your best Scouse accent. That'd be funny.
That'd be elite.
No.
You're asking me, somebody who has no idea what you're talking about. I only know English accent.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
I can't do that. I can't.
It's just how Steven Gerrard speaks,
I don't even remember how he speaks. I can only do a terrible British accent, which I'm not going to offend anybody here to do that. What was the first thing you asked of me? Final thoughts?
Final thoughts, yeah, there you go.
I really don't like Liverpool or their fans, so let's go Chelsea.
Big up. Ian, any other last thoughts then? Who's the referee?
Fuck them. Just straight up. Fuck them. I hate them.
I agree.
What he
Straight
said.
up. Let's hope we fuck him on Sunday. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round it out here. Again, shout out to Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, use my code, buy things. That'd be great for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. That'd be fantastic. Smash the like button. Subscribe to all of my wonderful guests that do have YouTube channels. So Lewis, obviously linked down in the description, as well as Craig's channel. And both Cons and Clutch's Twitters are linked down in the description. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. Of course, like I said, for once, it wasn't the day before. So we have a day to kind of waste now, I suppose, tomorrow to make sure we get to Sunday all good and we actually see that game. And I'm excited. I hope we get the dub because there's nothing worse than losing a final. Like, I hate losing final. So please win, because otherwise my whole week will be ruined. Because the next game is even Luton. So whether we win that or not, I won't even care much. So please just win on Sunday. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time.
Who's playing Akon?
Oh, it was my Spotify playlist, bro. I was playing FIFA for like 10 minutes before I came on.